The KwaZulu-Natal Basic Education Department has confirmed that it had awarded a contract of more than 2 billion rand for the delivery of food in schools as part of the National School Nutrition Program. The department has since cancelled the controversial contract awarded to a single service provider, Pacina Retail. Now, the Provincial Department was briefing Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Basic Education on the state of school nutrition in KZN, among other things. Now, let's get an update and discuss this further. We are joined by Nomarashiya Caluza, the Provincial Secretary at SADTU KZN. Ma'am, I hope you can hear me this time. Of course, we are waiting for that briefing by the Basic Education Minister as well as the Premier of KZN around this issue. But I'd like your reaction as SADTU in terms of how this contract was handled.
Thank you for having us and good afternoon. I can indicate on behalf of the South African Democratic Teachers Union that over the weekend we have been conversing with our principals and members to check whether there are deliveries that have taken place. And we can confirm that in our view, the reports that we have indicate that there are deliveries that have happened to schools. And in fact, today we're also checking with our schools whether our learners have been fed, and we can confirm, even though we can also indicate that there are challenges here and there, but there's quite a great improvement from where we were before today or last week, because there are few schools that are indicating challenges of non-delivery of vegetables and fruits, and we know that it was a long weekend and there may be difficulties, but the indication from our principals is that they've received almost everything, and then there are those isolated cases which we believe that they will have to be attended. And we want to applaud the department for being firm in taking a decision to cancel, because principals are indicating that at least now they can communicate with the service providers that are delivering, and service providers themselves are also indicating when they can deliver what could not be delivered yesterday or on Saturday. So as things stand, even though we're still collecting reports, but we can indicate that there's improvement, and our learners were fed almost all schools received, even though, as I indicated, there are isolated cases where there are still challenges.
Ma'am, if I hear you correctly, you are applauding the department for, intervening. And I mean, it's good to know that, some schools are getting some form of assistance. But I mean, it is the department who appointed a single contractor in one of the largest provinces. We understand that over 2 million children were affected. What would you like to see happen now, particularly as Pacina Retail, as we understand it, is saying that it still has a service level agreement with the Department of Education, and so a contract is still in place?
We believe, as we said in our statement last week, that we think something went wrong. In fact, even taking that decision of centralizing was not proper. It was a decision, of course, that was going to cause confusion and chaos, as we have seen, because our province is rural, and it is always better to make sure that you get people who are closer to where schools are so that they can easily deliver and procure things and provide to schools timelessly. So this decision of centralizing was a wrong decision, uninformed and not taking into consideration the geographical spread of our schools. As I've said, that we are rural, and it is always better to make sure that you give the work to those that are closest to the school so that there are no delays. Because we also don't want to see a situation where our learners are subjected to what we observed last week. In fact, in the past 2 weeks, where our learners, those especially who are coming from disadvantaged families, they only relied on this meal from the school. And when they were told that there's nothing to be given, it was clear, even from reading from their faces, that They were so disappointed, they were hurt. So from now onwards, we do not want to see this thing. The department must make sure that all the time they have to take decisions. They must put at the center or in the front the interest of the learners, which is the client that the department is serving. And if that is the case, I don't believe that we will be exposed to this chaos and confusion that we observed last week.
Just given that, KZN, as I said, is, the largest custodian of this program. And just from this very lesson that is obviously ongoing, because there is an investigation that is currently ongoing, as it relates to this particular company. How best is it for the department to run the school nutrition program? Because as you said, it is for children who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. We understand, of course, this affects quintile 1 to 3.
Our view as SADTU from long time ago, when the school nutrition program initiative or project was introduced in schools, our view was that each school must be allocated together with those monies that are allocated to schools, so that school governing bodies, using their own experiences at that level of the school, can determine how their children are getting the nutritious meal. We still believe even now that instead of involving tenders and involving many people who end up being the middlemen in the process and causing delays and eating to these resources and monies that are meant for the meal to be put in front of the learners, I would think that it is better if the department can consider giving powers to school governing bodies and ensuring that this conditional grant that comes from the DBE is allocated to schools directly, so that we do not have to wait for the provincial department to see to it how it involves tenders and all these things, including this centralization of the whole process. Just decentralize to ensure that there are no hassles.
Ma'am, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was Nomarashiya Caluza, the Provincial Secretary of SADTU KZN.